Welcome into tipsforgamers.com, home of pro gamers dedicated to making the game work for you. Our motto is simple: don't just play the game, own the game. So we're going to start this out with a quote of the day. Some people aren't worth the change in your pocket, and that's okay. Funerals are full of them. Try not to waste too much time on the people who only love you when you are gone, and do your best not to be one. EA just came out with a huge update for Madden 21 franchise mode. We're going to break it down for you guys so you guys will know what to expect. This update is not the only one in the works. Plan on there being more updates for upcoming Maddens, and we will likely even see a new user face for Madden 22. This update was packed. It was a lot. It was a big one. And it brought us a lot of excitement. Who knows, we may just start liking franchise mode again. Make sure to visit our website after the video is over, guys, to join our Madden group and to check out other sweet and sexy Madden content or other gaming content as well. And if you want to look like a saucy beast, make sure to get merched up, because as you all know, it's nothing personal, baby. It's just business. So if you guys want to see the Gridiron notes of this update, it'll be in the link in the description below, but we're going to break this down for its entirety so you guys will really know what to expect here. So they did an update with the league history, and this is the small potatoes of the update. There's no doubt about that. This is okay. They're going back to the old style of Madden. They just added not too long ago season stats and career stats for individual players so that you could break down your players' career and season stats and go down memory lane. And they're also now doing that with league history in general. It's kind of exciting here that they're bringing this in, or at least they're bringing this style back because they had this in previous Maddens. And what they're doing is they're keeping track of yearly award winners. They're keeping track of the conference. They're keeping track of Super Bowl winners. They're keeping track of a lot of different things here, but the user face of this is bland. I mean, it really is. It's bland. There's no pictures. It seemed quick. Hopefully in the future we kind of get some more user face on this. Maybe you could even throw their stats up there and how they got that. Something, I don't know, but more than this screen, because this is just kind of boring, and it's okay at best. Now, with that being said, this is also something we expected in previous Maddens and they took away, and a lot of us have given Madden crap for this in the Madden community, because what Madden does is they're basically like a parent that takes away a present and then 2 years later re-gifts it and gives it back on Christmas. And they're like, oh, that's where that's been. You kind of got to act like you're excited. So like we said, this is the small potatoes of the update, but it's still cool that they're at least providing us with more. So we're going to be going over more of the trade game here in future videos, but just know that it is completely different than it was previously. And it's exciting stuff. So they added some new interesting aspects to the AI of how it perceives the player's value. Okay, so they added a logic for CPU teams to be able to recognize context around when a player is actually an upgrade when acquiring a player that is not a starter on their current team, but would be for the new team. Allow CPU teams to better recognize when a lower quality caliber player is circumstantially starting, rather than a 73 overall getting the same base value for being CB1 as a player like Stephon Gilmore would. So this is new stuff, and there's a lot to do with the system here that we got to break down and figure out exactly how it thinks, because Madden is telling us here, but we still have to poke and prod the system to see how it adds up with what Madden is actually telling us here. And we have seen from the trades, we've seen a little bit of some differences that pique our curiosity. So like we mentioned previously, draft picks have changed value tremendously. You can see here I have 2 first-round picks. Now, Lamar Jackson was a quarterback that we used to have to do the SAR, the SAT to obtain, and now it's seeming more feasible to be able to get a guy like this. Just 2 first-round picks alone bring us up to a high margin within the trade meter for Lamar Jackson. Now, it used to be to where draft picks were only valuable when you would add players with them. It had to be a player combo with draft picks, and then all of a sudden you'd get value. You usually had to use 2 draft picks, and then you'd have to use a certain player, and then that's when you'd see your jump in value. And just draft picks by themselves have changed value tremendously. I mean, you could see here that this this is a huge impact for these 2 draft picks. The other thing that they changed too is quarterback value when you're trying to trade for another quarterback. So let's say you're doing same position trading, right? You're going quarterback for quarterback. Before, it would say the CPU would recognize that they already had a quarterback and they didn't yet trade the quarterback, and they didn't know that, hey, look, we're trading you a quarterback and this may be better than the quarterback that you already have, even though on the screen here Danny Dimes is not as good as Lamar Jackson here. But even if this was opposite, the team may look at it and say, well, we don't need a quarterback and we don't like Lamar Jackson that much. So now the system's actually smarter. So it's recognizing that I'm giving them a quarterback even though I'm asking for a quarterback. So they're not crushing down my player's value just because they're not smart enough to understand that, hey, look, you're going to get a quarterback in this trade and you'll be okay. So this is definitely different. I mean, it is completely different here. And I just want to try this. Like, let's say I go a first round pick and Danny Dimes here, I'm at a decent interest there, whether I get it with this pick or not. It's at least impressive. So, I mean, that's a pretty good showing for Danny Dimes and 2 first-round picks for Lamar Jackson there. So in ways, this has become easier, and ways, this has become a little bit harder because this is a brand new system. Either way, we got you covered and you'll be fine. So like we mentioned previously, they're trying to go for a reciprocation approach, and draft picks have really jumped in value in certain ways. Like, it's crazy. We've already showed you guys that, but I want to show you here when it comes to the AI of how the system thinks when it's draft pick for draft pick, because they're really trying to teach the system to be more of a businessman. Basically, that reciprocation approach, meaning you're going to give me a select few things that I like that need to benefit my team, and then I'm going to give you this. They're really trying that. It's a valiant effort, but the only thing I have to say here, guys, is do not hang your hat on it, and don't be shocked if there's a lot of cheese stuff that you can do. Okay, don't be shocked at that, because this system is not impervious to cheese. It's just not. Cheese is in the air and you can smell it. Here's what it is. Look, I'm trying to offer them a first round pick. They got the pick 21, and I'm offering them a pick 21 for the round 10. So this is projected. We're in the preseason. We have pick 11 is what we're projected. They're at pick 10. So I want to see how the system thinks about this. So I offered them it, and this year they're saying, okay, pretty close, right? That's some really close value there for the same year. So the system is starting to recognize that, all right, this is, hey, look, we're really close to each other. I can make that work. Why not throw in something more? And hey, that'll go through. So we could throw in maybe a 6 and a 7, something like that, and get that to go through and move up the draft that way. So draft picks are more balanced per se, but the system still weighs draft picks much heavier dependent on the year that they are, right? I can grab a first, second, and a third here for this current year, and boom, there's the cheese. There's the cheese. You can smell it. Cheese, right? There's a lot of it. And this can happen, and I'm already thinking of ways and thinking of things to do. So, here it is. This is the stuff that we're talking about here, and we got to look at the system more and more. Start to really break down how this system is thinking. In fact, let's even do another test here. Go pick 22. Now this should be not even close here, right? But then it looks like, okay, well, something's going on. I don't know what this is, but it doesn't look quite right to me. However, it's exciting stuff. It's new stuff. It's fun. And I think there's a lot that we can enjoy from this. I think that there's a lot they'll probably need to fix even in the future, but so far, so good. I mean, it changed so much that it's going to honestly take us a little bit here to dive in deep and really figure out how the system thinks. And I mean, truly figure out how the system thinks. So we're going to basically go over the other aspects of this that you guys will need to know. We've broken down draft pick values, different player values. Now they're even adding in the development. So added a check to value offensive lineman with a superstar dev trait at the equivalent of a superstar X factor value. They made dev trait a full factor in the player's value calculation rather than a modifier for a boost. They changed the way the teams perceive a player based upon what style of defense that you're running. So based on whether your team runs a 4-3 or a 3-4, certain defensive positions will be valued differently, like a 4-3 team needing a second starting D tackle or a 3-4 needing a second starting middle linebacker. Similarly, the value of a 3-4 outside linebacker and a 4-3 DN share as edge rushers on their defensive fronts warrant differences in value teams now consider differently than a 4-3 outside linebacker or a 3-4 DN. Okay, this logic, they ended here with, this logic impacts what position teams look to trim roster cuts on in preseason. New values are aligned and intended to leave teams with a more appropriate number of players at each position per authentic expectations. We have seen cases where this can resolve issues where 4-3 CPU defenses would be left with only 3 D tackles on their roster. Most teams carry 4 D tackles in real life, but exact results will vary on team quality during cuts and remain dynamic. So there just is so much to this. They have improved QB specific value improvements. We already kind of went over that a little bit here. This is huge. The age is not as big of a factor in certain quarterbacks, and sometimes it is. It just depends on the quarterback and how old they really are. There's a lot to this, guys, and there's a lot to break down. So for the most part, I got to say, I tip my hats off to EA and the Madden team. You guys did great. This is exciting stuff, and it's cool to see a new perspective of Madden that we have been wanting for a long time. Some of the stuff you're bringing back from previous years, however, I don't care. I'm excited, and I'm happy that we're finally getting something new.